Hello, how is everyone doing? It is your fallen angel back with another video. Today, we are going over Invoking the Akasha, Quintessence, and Ether. But before we get started, feel free to like and subscribe. And without further ado, we shall begin. So, on this channel, we've talked about Ether many times. We understand Ether being the hidden element, the spatial element. It's everything we can't see through light apparatus. It's everything else. It's the fifth element, right? I have found the quintessence, Akasha, or ether, to act as a medium in amplifying energies and the powers of the soul. Ether is also said to impart invisibility in the way of one not being noticed. Now, this is not some Harry Potter, I'm going to put a cloak on and I will be invisible to people in the physical plane, but it's more or less becoming invisible in the astral plane while you travel the astral plane. We understand that the physical body is something we could see through light apparatus, but the human soul has many, many bodies. It's many, many light bodies built up into one. If you try this, it is very important to also do this with the void in not thinking, as thoughts give off energy. Of course, this does not mean physical invisibility, but invisibility in not being noticed, like a well-trained ninja can do. So moving through time-space, also known as ether, Akasha, or quintessence, this is what we're really trying to think about. Because like we said in previous videos, guys, feel free to check those out as well. Thoughts are energy. When thoughts are made, emotions follow. And when these two intertwine, thoughts and emotions, these become actions. And then when actions intertwine, this makes what happens manifest, right? This is why we have to be very diligent on what we think, diligent on what we feel, because this will be a reflection to the outside world. What you feel inside will be reflected to the outside world, right? Whether this be the people you interact with, what's going on in your life, this is what's going to be reflected. So therefore, thinking is energy itself. Everything is energy in this electromagnetic plane. So, to invoke ether, we'll start off with the steps. Visualize and feel yourself in the center of an unlimited space. This will feel like floating. There is no above or below or sideways. Think of it as a torus of energy around you, space around you. The quintessence is ultraviolet, very similar to what is known as black light. For those of you who are familiar with the black lights of the 1970s and how they illuminated fluorescent colors on posters, this is the color you should be visualizing, as it is very powerful. Black lights are ultraviolet. If you are not familiar, just type black light into a search engine. Also, see images of black lights and black light bulbs. This energy is the first step in the non-visible spectrum of light. The soul is composed of both the visible and non-visible spectrums of light. Another way to perceive this is also to understand aura. The human field has aura. We may not be able to feel, we may not be able to see the aura, but you can feel the aura, right? You know when you could feel some negativity coming towards you, or a negative person, or maybe a really happy person, whether they don't have a smile on their face, or if they do have a smile on their face. You can feel aura, right? You can feel magnetism. You can feel these things, right? When you get this gut feeling inside, when you know, I should either fight or flight, right? Your amygdala is telling you this because it could sense the aura. It may not be able to see aura because it's not necessary for survival. It's not necessary to be seen through light apparatus. But it could feel this aura, right? The whole body is made up of what we could see through the physical plane and something we can't see through the physical plane. Breathe in the Akasha, or ether. visualizing yourself completely surrounded by the ultraviolet energy, as you would with the energy breathing, and fill your entire being in with it for 11 breaths. Right, guys? We know 11 is a very symbolic number. 11 is a manifestation number. It's a very symbolic number in numerology in many, many accounts throughout history. Feel this energy and focus on your mind and astral senses upon it. So if you guys need help knowing how to meditate, or trying to enter the astral plane, or even awakening your third eye, there's plenty of videos on this channel as to how to astral project. Now, for some people it may be difficult, but for some people who are adept, it is very easy to enter the astral plane. So regardless of your level of where you are at, anyone can become an expert at it. It just requires dedication, meditation, focus, and drive. Meditate on the feeling you get from invoking this energy for about 10 to 15 minutes. It has been mentioned in theoretical part that the elements originate in the Akasha principle, by which they are dominated and kept in the correct balance. After a long time of exercising, a magician who has achieved good results with the elements will also be able to control the finest principle, that is the astral ether. So guys, everyone knows the 4 elements, right? The 4 elements include fire, air, water, and earth. Then we have the thing on our thumb, what we know as chi, ether, astral plane, quintessence, or akasha. This is ether. When you know how to control the other elements in the physical plane, you will be very well to know that the 5th element of ether is the finest of all them all. So you must be getting good at invoking the other 4 before we jump into ether. We have heard that Akasha is the primary source, the sphere of all causes. Any deliberate cause, such as a wish, a thought, any imagination created in this sphere together with the dynamic conviction, is bound to be realized with the help of the elements. Regardless of the level or sphere on which the realization necessarily has to be performed, this is one of the greatest magic mysteries and a universal key for the magician, who will understand its range only later on in the course of his development, by Franz Barton in the Initiation into Hermetics. It's essential to understand how crucial the ether time space is. It's something that is still to be theorized, right? Whether we talk about string theory, whether we talk about the 12 dimensions, ether is not completely understandable because it's so interchangeable. Whether we're talking about neutrinos, whether we're talking about things just passing the physical plane and entering a different dimension. This is magical when we think about it, but it's also controllable as well. Ether is a classic element, right? It's redirected from quintessence alchemy. Ether itself is a necessary element, right? We have the physical elements, but the ether is also necessary in order to have what we have in this cosmos. The ether is the 5th classical element in ancient Greek philosophy and science. This Greek concept seems to derive directly from the Akasha, its Hindu counterpart. In Greek doctrines, it seems that the ether was the celestial fire, the pure essence where the gods lived and which they breathed. We could just get into how this is explained. Celestial fire is a good way to put it. It's a massive amount of energy, a flowing amount of energy, but in the celestial plane. It's not something we could see through light apparatus. We know ether is its own time-space. It's its own different entity as the fifth element. Whether we call it Akasha, whether we call it ether, whether we call it quintessence, this is the fifth element. In this connection, it seems that ether is radiative heat, like that of the sun, which is able to propagate in empty space. The Greek word aether derives from an Indo-European root, aeth, which means burn or shine. This root figures in the name of Ethiopia, which means something like burnt land. So many historians and many scientists believe that the beginning of mankind happened in Africa. So it's essential to understand that the sun, the seven rays, and ether has its very great, immense strength in places where the sun is abundant, near the equator, where the sun is extremely abundant. This is how we know where human derives from, and how we are all electromagnetic beings. And this celestial fire is what's fueling humankind, right? It's fueling everything. It's fueling all the other elements, right? They're all in conjunction with each other. Without one another, they can't propel or decrease, right? Without air, fire can't be propelled, and without water, it can't be distinguished. It's essential that they're all coinciding with each other. Ether was once believed to be a substance which filled all of space. Aristotle included it was the fifth element, the quintessence, on the principle that nature abhors a vacuum. So whether we are to think that it is a substance that's filling space, or it's a neutrino that we can't even see going through time-space, it is a principle that nature abhors a vacuum, according to Aristotle. Oliver Nicholson points out that, in contrast to the better known luminiferous aether of the 19th century, the older concept of the classical ether had three properties. Among these characteristics, the classical ether had a non-material property, was less than the vehicle of visible light, and was responsible for generating metals along with fostering the development of all bodies, whether they're celestial bodies or just any bodies. Ether has a direct impact on it. So here, guys, we have an imagery showing us energetic elements, etheric elements, and material elements. Many of us know wind, water, fire, earth, the material elements, the energetic elements of lightning, light, energy, shadow, ice, and then etheric elements, time, space, darkness, the things that can't be seen through light apparatus, everything that's happening beyond the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, the sixth dimension, all the way up to 12. This is all part of ether as well. Robert Flood stated that the ether was the character that it was, subtler than light. Flood cites the 3rd century view of Plotinus concerning the ether as penetrative and non-material. So guys, we have a video on here explaining neutrinos and how it is subtler than light, and it can penetrate materials, and it also can be considered non-material, right? Similar to a quark of some sorts, right? We can see that it can go through physical elements, but it doesn't have any weight either, right? And this can also tie into string theory as well. Other 1800 views, such as James Clerk Maxwell, Lord Kelvin, and Nikola Tesla, was of the disposition that the ether was more akin to it actually being the electromagnetic field, right? So on this channel, we also speak about how everything is energy, and how the electromagnetic field that Tesla was talking about directly derived from this ether particles, right? Everything is energy deriving from this ether particle. or ether time space itself. In modern physics, dark energy is sometimes called quintessence due to its similarity to the classical ether. So guys, this was a short video going over Akasha, Quintessence, Ether, invoking them, as well as understanding the time space around us, what we can see through light apparatus. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Also like and subscribe. Feel free to check us out on Patreon, Rumble, Twitter, Instagram, things of that nature. This has been your fallen angel, and I am out.